and everything get obliviated, you know. But death is beautiful. You see, y'all done got lost in some type of concept called lifetime. But we on to the next. I guess I see you next flight time. Flight boss. Let's do it. What am I supposed to do if I want to change the world? Wanna change the world. How can I know when I need it myself? When I'm already lost in the world. Now what am I supposed to do if I want to change the world? Wanna change the world. How can I know when I need it myself? When I'm already lost in the world. Damn. Love is low and it's about to destroy the whole world. Flights spinning just like a vortex. It's a no swirl. Mixing things up like life is an alchemist. That's right. Life is a big test. Hope you niggas passing it. Alright. No little camera 50 cent, but I got the magic stick. You know. The blessings that the pilot give, bitch, the shit is accurate. For sure. Like a merry-go-round, all I see is patterns. But I'ma tell you now, these conceptions is immaculate. Man, I just love y'all. But it's hard just to trust y'all. I fly plane, fucking car key. Everybody here look like zombies. The heart always missing the beat, yeah. Cause they hardly don't listen to me, yeah. So far from a mission complete, yeah. The stars will be lifted with me, it's G.O.D. Figure I be up on the throne. Then I start figuring something is wrong. Leading the way, I got blood on my hands from all the spirits that's coming along. Lower the vibe, but up in the tone. The reason that people in love with the song. Erica Pilot is touching your soul. For anyone who having trouble at home, check my surroundings so I don't get drowned because I just live in a bubble alone. Imagine a place where the dragon is stable and back in my brain should've come and just go. Just a revelation, honey, I know. But the kids ain't shrinking. Life is like a boat, gotta make sure that the shit ain't sinking. Now what am I supposed to do if I want to change the world? Wanna change the world. How can I know when I need it myself? When I'm already lost in the world. I guess I see you next flight time. You know, I guess I see you next flight time.
You know what I'm saying? Real dope. Now that's getting everybody in the vibe. Everybody getting in the mind. We about to go ahead and take that ride. Let's go in the Astro World. I don't know why I didn't do that before I go live. I gotta use the restroom. Give me 3 seconds. All right. So now, everybody mind gonna get right into the right perspective so we can have the more healthier starting point when we want to look at these things. Always look at attributes. Look at the ability. That takes it beyond the history, the money, the language, and in this lecture, the species. You know, a lot of people want to look at. So intelligent design, what is we call the design, and therefore we'll be able to break it down what we're actually pointing to and be able to compare and contrast. Does it have anything to actually do with a form of design, or does it have anything to do with intelligent, or is it something that's natural in the first place? Let me go ahead and refresh this. So getting into this aspect, would allow us to have a more healthier starting point when we are in our observing bag, our observation bag, and things of that nature. Because a lot of things we don't need scientific methods to discover, because a lot of times they're based off hypotheticals anyway. So it's about having a substantiated point of reference first, and then let scientific methods be built off that, which we're doing that anyway. It just, once we get too lost into words and formations of ways of connecting, it goes away from the actuality is we're actually seeing a wave turn into a particle, or is we just two individuals in front of a computer and we made a computer screen play like a wave, and then when you do your computer screen, we see a particle. You know what I'm saying? First, we have to know what we're filtering things through, and did we actually get that concept from something that came from a hypothetical of us actually looking at water waves and seeing water bubbles, or is we, over exaggerating what we have taken from that aspect and put more on the baggage of we got this computer system that play out as a wave, and we know it's a particle once a person observes this scientific method. So we always need to know, it don't matter how you look at it and how far in you are on, we're still making observations based upon the natural life. You know what I'm saying? All the way down to eat, fucking, and sleeping. So before you want to go far into, I'm a PhD. Don't forget what is a PhD constructed off of. Us and our culture and how we create conveniences around our eat, fucking, and sleeping. Sleeping is a correlation to abilities of thinking. Fucking is a correlation of the ability of going for your motivations and your passions and attracting in some way, shape, or form. Not attraction. Don't get too lost in your physical. And sleeping. Eating is a correlation of how you deal with your emotional stability and what you're going to start to involve yourself in based upon what you feel comfortable with or not. And a lot of people just feel extremely comfortable with negativity a lot of times in areas that we don't see as negativity, because we have put it into another area called entertainment. And entertainment is not bad, but it ain't what you do, is how you do it. Therefore, it can overconsume your life. You play out these actual energies, and you end up living an actual reality that ain't scripted, that look just like something that Mona Scott scripted. You know what I'm saying? Wrote. And then for the most part, somebody got paid and wore that meat jacket for free, and then you took your whole check and went broke and thought you was living a real goddamn loving hip hop story with a mink on and shit like that, that the person you was copying ain't pay for. And probably gave it back right after that show and shit, right after that day. You know what I'm saying? Things that ain't even in their closet. It ain't even in their closet to wear it on a holiday when they ain't in front of cameras. You know what I'm saying? You somewhere still thinking they got it and they can wear it in a good time. You know what I'm saying? You got a peep game. So for the most part, just getting everybody's mind right before we get deep into it, to understand intelligent design and what are we actually pointing to when we actually start to utilize these terms. Because when we start to say intelligence in one area, it added so much percentage scale on it, what we're calling intelligent. We start to use it in other areas that may not even have anything to do with a form of intelligence, all the way down to things that I coined this term, sentientism, or not sentientism, sentiment. What was the word I created? I created this word. Organic gases resistance create sentienship. Yeah, sentienship. So ship is just a collection of things, masses coming together to create a mass, a ship or a form for us to understand what it means to be sentient. You know what I'm saying? And we might be putting too much energy on a form of what we're calling intelligence, that we develop what intelligence means in another area. And then when it comes to things being sentient, we start to add this other intelligence with the comprehension of just being a human into this other area. And then we don't know how to have intelligent conversations. But it's apparent that a human is more intelligent than a monkey if we want to use it based upon what we're pointing to intelligence. A human can make better conveniences out of their eat, fucking, and sleeping than a beaver and a monkey. You see what I'm saying? So once you start to look at that, like, all right, I know what I'm pointing to as a frame of thought, then we can start to look at, all right, something being sentient isn't necessarily on the ground basis of something being intelligent. It's less on a percentage scale. A lot of things could be sentient. A damn beaver, a damn deer in the front of headlights and stuff is sentient, but that don't necessarily mean the frame of what we're pointing to and what humans developed and call intelligence need to be utilized in the same studies when we're doing observations and stuff. Or somebody gonna be somewhere saying everybody came from monkeys and monkeys got a certain frame of intelligence, but put a monkey in a driver's seat and see how far you go. I know a lot of y'all catch New York City taxi cabs and stuff with Arabs, and I get confused and don't know which one in a Jamaican. But just stick with me. Stick with me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all just stick with me. We talk about actual monkeys. Oh, Shout out to the New York City governors that's running. Mafia ass Cuomo's and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Man? Make sure that hopefully one of y'all know how to deal with money right. I seen a shiesty Asian Indian man. Oh, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, some scams going on. Wait, how he even get on stage? You know what I'm saying? So you start thinking real good. He scammed to get on stage. He got a whole bunch of my feet hurt energy when he get out the crib. I guarantee. But yeah, okay. But look, we'll check this out. We just getting our mind right before we get into this. Intelligent design and organic gases creates sentienship. Now, for the most part, this is the development of what it means to be sentient and taking us out of the form of attaching areas that we call an intelligence in this form of observation and studies. Therefore, we know there's many things that can be sentient that doesn't have frames of thought of intelligence. So when we get into conversations like intelligent design, like in philosophy and stuff like that, therefore we have a healthier starting point of knowing how to derive conclusions from these type of conversations, other than just getting a spooky land and then it's another 2,000 years argument. But you know, a lot of people got rich and shit like that. That part was cold though. That was a cold. You can go buy a book right now. That person's whole family still getting rich. Dude probably died in 1682. All his descendants still getting rich. Like every ethnicity got to learn how to get in them type of bags. You know what I'm saying? That's what people need to be more focused on. That's your respiration right there. Learn how to get in these bags of people you crying a respiration for. They in certain bags you ain't in. You know what I'm saying? Get in other certain bags. Y'all be complaining, feed me bags too much. Get in another bag. Make your spirit look good, man. Make your people look good. I don't see nobody cry. Just cut the live stream off or don't click the upload button and go hide in the bathroom if you're going to cry a little bit. Let that be the time for that. It's a time and place for everything, not YouTube. They're talking about me. They keep roasting me in the chat and stuff, man. And you got something to teach or what? You know what I'm saying? Oh, cry. Oh, you know, first stop. Please hit the stop button. You know what I'm saying? My feelings hurt. All right, now look. Check this out, right? So when we start talking about, now I know y'all keep running away from this, but we're gonna do a full circle because you know I'm a master orator. You ain't no scientist gonna be able to get away from thoughts colliding and condensing and becoming organs themselves. And then when we want to think about what an organ is actually doing, it's resistant to another form of organ. On a mic, that's a more condensed version of a lesser scale. We see gases interacting with other gases and things. So we got this form of connection, disconnection that's going on. And when we have different forms of the same substance connecting, they also create a form of resistance based upon it being in different positions or different mathematical positions or precisions, or different calculations, or, you know, just like how we have underneath river falls underneath the sea and things of that nature. It's a lot of sea salt in that one than the other one I just ran into. How we have thunderstorms, you know, one city and state atmosphere is a little bit more dense than the other one, so it creates temperament like temperature. And then for the most part, we have it being human or we have it being other kind of concepts. So for the most part, even in the lighter stages of things, you know, we don't need no telescope or no science lab or no scientific method for us to understand gases is reacting to other gases, and that resistance itself is what we're pointing at its lightest stage to be calling something intelligent or something have its own mind or own thought. So before we even get into that whole concept of over exaggerating things outside of us, still utilizing your own human thought, this is the filtering system that you have to understand that you're in. Sentience is coming from something that you think is moving or doing something on its own. And then for the most part, things, when you put that concept in just a science lab, but you ain't in actual life, you don't know how to see how there's a lot of things that may be unintelligent that still plan out some sentience in other areas that you may be not even thinking that is real, but it still has that term sentience behind it. All the way to jellyfish not having brains, all the way to parasites and bacteria, or tree, or you think a tree don't have no goddamn spirit in it, or whatever the case may be. And we're not saying it's a tree do. We're just giving you aspects of we're seeing something interact, and we are seeing a resistance, and that resistance is what's creating another implosion of something that may have to play out a smaller or larger aspect of that connect and disconnect. And this is what you are: breathe in, breathe out. Fuck somebody, bring a child, you know what I'm saying? Join into things, separate when you need recharge and stuff. And people think you going to sleep is something broader than your body needing to recharge. No, you know what I'm saying? If you exhaust yourself more than someone else, I guarantee you need to sleep a little longer than them. All right. So that's large on a percentage scale than claiming there's some spooky goddamn overlord that's putting you into these things and stuff and put you into a whole nother world. A lot of y'all make up things. So you got to be careful, you know what I'm saying, in your mind before you go somewhere that they ain't got nothing to do with how you was born. And you're going to be wishing you find two spirits that care more about fucking than whatever you was lost in and talk about semen retention. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be waiting. You're like, I'm stuck. Well, I can't get out my dream. You feel me? All right. You know what I'm saying? We getting into some intelligence. All right. Now, look, check it out, right? We have to make common sense out of something before we get into the parables and then the intellect of it and then try to say it's pseudo. First, let's get on the ground basis of why we thinking about something in the first place. That's why I attack it. I attack it that way. Then if I put it in the frame of thought that you may have thought something was pseudo in, you will have to use some substantiated reality-based concept to be able to combat what I'm saying. And then now you understand what I'll be saying. For lack of better terms, we just be using words that we think we agree on, but we pointing at something very different. And when you give these words and meanings to its rightful objects and owners and intellectual property authors and stuff like that, you will start to see where we pointing at. We all can see something. You just got a different understanding and filtering glasses how you seeing it, and yours might be on a whole different direction. You might be calling something we both seeing something totally somewhere else in Asia next to Genghis Khan casket or something. Oh man, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. The mind can play tricks on you. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Scarface. Bushwick Bill and Willie D. You know what I'm saying? The mind can play tricks on you. And a producer. The producers don't get enough credit. Producers. No Limit producer, beat by the pound. He ain't getting enough. That's all my older brothers and they friends was saying and stuff like that. So that got me into looking at credits and stuff like that. So when I went to junior high and high school and stuff, my mind was always more sufficient and stuff. People started breaking up other stuff. I used to be like, you wouldn't like how that bounced though without, you know what I'm saying, the producer though. You know what I'm saying? Beats by the pound made Silk the Shocker charge it to the game and classic. Not his lyrics. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one who brought them type of conversations. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You take pride in having an intelligent mind. All right, now look, check this out, right? So when we get into now, natural gases reacting and resisting creates sentienship. So that's what this lecture is about. Now, sentienship means something having a reaction or something having a reaction to something outside of it. I didn't mean to say or. Pardon me, something having a reaction to something outside of it, right? That has the same substance, just in a different or more diluted compound form of it. That's how we have river flows up under the water and stuff like that. That's how you have your heart connecting to your lungs connecting to your brain, and then the lighter stages of it, the wind, the breath. So that's why your brain, your lungs need oxygen that produce and become more blood and things of that nature for your heart to pump, that condense and become all the other tissues and stuff like that, and that condense and become the goddamn bone marrow, and the bone marrow condense and become the bone structure. You see what I'm saying? So we have to look at things in its natural instant at each portion of alone. Not looking at it from the state of you already a collection of something, and now you just think, where I come from? You come from each piece of your makeup. In your makeup, you could be able to compare and contrast what part was first and what part was last. Just like if we got all these computers to be able to look at the mother to be able to know that we don't make the brain first, we make the heart first when we in the womb. You see what I'm saying? So stuff like that. But these are just more comprehending stages to have more healthier starting points to, you know, maybe areas me, the other average individual, or other individuals not in, and then for individuals who are in positions that can do these type of studies and stuff like that, that probably already ahead of the game, probably know a little bit more than what I know, whatever the case may be, and they just can add this on to it to have a, you know, better perspective, or have something to piggyback off with to be like, that's wrong. But, you know, we just all learning from each other. But for the most part, like I said, sentienship means something having a reaction to something, which we know gassy states reaction is what people studying anyway, but we're not looking at the nuance of it, which is why I want to add a little bit more flavor to the meal. But sentienship means something having a react all the way down to, you know, the mind condensing and becoming an organ. There's always going to be that kind of thing lingering in the back of our pineal glands, all the way to the highest PhDs, master individuals, masters that studying these things. They know there's a connection with the mind influencing the physical. We just don't know how to attach it, and one works better to make money and keep things in order as far as economy, and the other one is just better for, you know, small pocket of people to only get rich and stuff like that, and everybody else know this bullshit. Let's create allegories around how it's bullshit. But for the most part, you know, this is the thing. You know, everybody want to know how we eat, fucking sleep, period. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to sentienship, once we separate the baggage that we utilize by shared common English terminology, like intelligence. Therefore, we have a better starting point on what we're actually calling sentient. And now we could kind of have a better or broader perspective if we want to get into the philosophy of intelligent design. And here's the thing, getting on this starting point, the outcome probably wouldn't even be us calling it intelligent design. You know what I'm saying? And we will even put design in its better perspective or give it back to its intellectual property author. You know what I'm saying? And it will be non-useful for the discussion at this point, even when we want to talk about our GMOs, genetics, and things of that nature. You know, design won't even, it'll probably be larger on a percentage scale coming from a theological type of discussion in all actuality. Then we will have to compare and contrast is science or religion is a more healthier starting point to us getting into these type of conversations. You know, we could quickly throw the religion out the way. You know what I'm saying? Which it could give us, you know, moral systems or motivations of how to look at it through a filtering system. Still, it come with a filtering system that separates the actuality of the matter that's going on. So instead of us understanding that clouds is a form of a gas that's interacting and rejecting, we get into things like it's a cloud god. You see what I'm saying? And then we get into all this other Zeus and things of that nature and stuff like that. So it could be a natural cause of gases interacting to create the lightning. But for the most part, you want to go ahead and have a whole 2,000-year discussion. Did Zeus walk on water first? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, shit like that. You see what I'm saying? That's the importance of giving words and meanings back to its rightful owners, even if they dead. You know what I'm saying? They might have had a different perspective that was more suitable for that time, and it might have made sense. You know what I'm saying? But then we can compare and contrast. What did it make more sense towards? And I guarantee I will be able to debunk you. It made more sense towards convenience, eat, fucking, and sleeping. So therefore, who was that person's convenience? Was they searching for gold, or was they already somewhere? And then that'll tell us a lot also. That'll tell us how much percentage scales of a lie, whatever. And that's how God show us the word. No matter what we're reading and whatever lying person or truthful person we got it from and things of that nature. We know how to separate, and we know what's really for us, regardless of something that's written and it's said is for us, and what's written and we can obviously see is not for us. That might not always be the case. So I'm saying, you might be reading something that's telling you not to do something, that's the thing to do. You might be reading something that's telling you to do something, that's the thing not to do. You in a halfway house right now. You see what I'm saying? I said free C murder. Just putting things in its proper perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Now look, check it out. So, sentienship means something having a reaction to something outside of it, right? But still having the same substance, just in a different or more diluted compound form of it. You know what I'm saying? That's how different water, same water, but different minerals in it, boom, create heavy water flows or river falls underneath the sea, right? Now, here's the thing. Now, here we are experiencing forms having a connection in the first place. And everything is connecting and disconnecting in its own matter. And we're going to get to where does matter come from? Because I know that's going to be the next discussion. Where does the gas come from? And like I said, we ain't going to be able to get around the full circle that something mentally is condensing to become the things that we see and quote unquote call it external. So I'm saying, but and then when we find those pocket points, then we all add to the, you know, big old gumbo pot, you know what I'm saying, all of us on this soil, and then prove to all other continents they ain't touching us in the mind, and we can look cool while doing it. You know what I'm saying? No matter the ethnicity, you on this soil, we powerful somewhere. We got to find these pockets. We can't just be always feel good about yourself, feel good about the soil you own. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of in-house stupid stuff. But look, now what else are you experiencing but gases in different interactions of connecting and resisting? This is why you come up with the gods, wind god or light god or water and earth gods and things of that nature. We are witnessing one form interact with another via resistance. And this is what we're starting to call sentient. Scientists get into discoveries of there ain't no cloud god. There's forms of resistance for it to even be a thunderstorm that day or whatever the case may be. Too much of that in one area and all resistant going to cause a fight, aka a inverted version of evaporation where they separate themselves after colliding with themselves, and now we got rain droplets. See what I'm saying? So we're getting different things colliding and interacting and doing its thing. So it's doing its own thing. It's not, a human ain't making it rain. A human ain't making the sun emit, or whatever the case may be. So we're seeing something happen. But if we don't know what to point to, and we start to piggyback too much on scientific methods, we fail to realize what a scientific method was created off of in the first place, us observing. And then when we give more, when we call technology God, we forget where God is actually doing it right in front of us and things of that nature. And then we're not getting helped by God to make more godly technology. You know what I'm saying? And then we end up leaning and supporting on technology to show us what God is showing us all along. So we blind ourselves away from the general perspective. And I apologize for any atheists watching, for me to bring God into the discussion. You see what I'm saying? But motherfucker, you better get your spirit together. Yeah, I said I'm going for that. But look, check this out, right? So what else are you experiencing but gases and different interactions and connecting and resisting? This is why you come up with wind gods, water gods, light gods, and earth gods and stuff like that. We are witnessing one form interacting with another via resistance, which creates the concept of something having its own sentience. So when we see something react with another thing, and in its lighter stages, what else is we talking about but gases? And if you don't want to call clouds and sunlight and all these things gases, I'm just trying to put things in generalized terms in a colonized box. Since we like doing that so much over here, let's start doing that. Everything is in its own pocket family. So when we look at it from a percentage scale, what resonate more in a pocket family, we're able to have healthier starting points of whatever we're pointing at to develop philosophy conversations and stuff like that. But we are witnessing the interacting, right, of another thing interacting with something else, and then we're seeing a resistance, and then something having, and then that's developing what we're calling sentience, beyond intelligence, because there's a lot of things we see that's happening that you're not going to call intelligent, right? So it's broader on a percentage scale of something becoming sentient without intelligence. And then we can start to get into what y'all call creation, mutation, and evolution and what develops it. But instead of you getting into what you already call an intelligence and then trying to find where is there an intelligence in life. And there might be forms of intelligence that's already playing in front of you. You just call it an intelligence. And that word is the wrong word for it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to throw you off every time. Well, this beetle is dumber than a human, so it don't know nothing. And then in other areas, maybe this beetle or lion knows something that we don't, that we can use in our life. So yeah, this is what the lions did, this is what the apes did. But and you're still just pointing at the wrong direction based upon your starting point of what you're trying to develop as far as some form of information or intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Once we understand the starting point and what type of intelligence we're trying to develop off of it, we have a healthier starting point or what to look for. For an example, we get faulty when we use the English terms universe, and then we describe it in the form of it being a noun, like it take actions. So the universe could be born. The universe had a birth date, a flight date. When did the universe start creating things? And the universe is an adjective. It's a description, and a description is talking about things that are nouns. And the only things that's taking actions is trees growing, people being born, species. So the collection of these things to describe it in one term will be the universe, and the universe can only be portrayed as an adjective. It can't be portrayed as something to take actions on its own. It's a description for many things that take actions. Back to reality. It's like bringing a scientist back to Earth. Come back to Earth. You know what I'm saying? Before we get too lost, and then Star Trek starts seeming like Batman and Superman and stuff. Trash. And ruining our childhoods and stuff. But peep game, right? So when we look at it from that perspective, right, now that's building better comprehension skills. So we ain't wasting tax dollars either. And like I said, right, with this concept, which creates the concept of what we're calling what it means to be sentience or have your own mind. So since this is what we base sentience on, which is faulty a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I see how we can make mistakes based off observations that we make, that we would think only the mind is something that could be sentient. Knowing that, what is we doing when we're calling something sentient? Something doing something on its own volition. And it's larger on a percentage scale of us seeing things that's not intelligent, or we wouldn't call intelligent, still doing things on its own volition, as far as the clouds, as far as bacteria, monkeys, or whatever the case may be. So sentience isn't on the ground basis of intelligence. So that's already going to separate us from going in the wrong direction when we're having conversations dealing with intelligent design. You know what I'm saying? So once we got to have that type of dialogue where we waste tax dollars and shit and have 2,000-year-old arguments. Now, but so when the things that we're starting to piggyback off and call what we call sentience and stuff, I know we piggyback that on the mind, but we can see a lot of other things. And in all actuality, the mind is developed from sentience, not the other way around. The ability to be sentient goes beyond something already having sentience. Let me repeat. It's not a mind that's sentient creating things. It's the mind come from sentience. You always have to look at things from 3 layers. And the holy is the most lightest layer. Before you know it was water before you was here. So these characteristics that you're able to play out was here before you was here. That don't mean it had to be an individual like you to create it. It means it's an ability that all species can have, and based on comprehension and how they utilize it, that's going to be the determining factor of what was here longer or further from having that ability, which gets us into creation, mutation, and evolution. You see what I'm saying? So the mind isn't something with that we have to look for that has sentience that you think is more intelligent than you. The mind is actually developed from sentience. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't the mind sentient, it's the other way around. You know what I'm saying? Not it's the mind derives from sentientness, not the other way around. So there's a form of sentientness that already exists. And then therefore, if the mind is sentient, it comes from that, not sentientness coming from the mind. So when you see sentience in the world in a less dense form, that's gases like clouds. And when it interact with another one, it's able to take its own direction, right? That's a form of sentience. So if the mind has a form of sentience, it's derived from that pocket family. It's not large on a percentage scale of another pocket family. So even when you have a thought that resists somebody else's thought, those are gases. And if it's a thought that you don't like, it's a resisting gas. If it's a thought you do like, it's a blending gas. But then when it connects, it evolves and devolves and becomes something else, a group effort thought form. So therefore, it influences you and influence someone else, and good fumes and good feelings and good thoughts, and then blood flow that builds adrenaline to motivate y'all to do it more as the physical practice of it, because the body mimics the mind and the mind mimics the observer, the spirit, the space. You know what I'm saying? For the atheist, your space, if you don't like the term spirit. So now you're able to put things in this. Now we can colonize things in the mind the right way. So I'm saying. So that's what sentience is coming from. Sentience, the mind is developed from sentientness. So based on creation, a form of sentientness, holy, mutation, holy, the collection and the meaning of it, then the holy, the individualness of it in its own mathematical precision. That could be the anatomy or whatever the case may be. So that's a more condensed form or a more evolved form of sentientness being played out, and you are a representation of that. You see what I'm saying? So this is why you're even born at particular times, and that particular atmosphere you're in a pocket full of gas. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, obviously seeing and observing the lighter forms of life shows us those are the stages of sentientness being developed, not the wind being sentience itself. And the process and the wind and all that is the process and the very mechanism, along with other gases, that become sentience through the forms of bacteria, parasites, and species. So sentience is something being developed, not something that's sentient already and developing all the procedures that you're already in, and then you separate that from you being sentient. Obviously, there's a process for you to be born. There's a process for you to be sentient. See what I'm saying? So if thought is the lighter stages of gases that you emanate and then you get inside of, that's your mind, your first body, then for the most part, if the body mimics the mind. Your body is doing sentient things. So the term sentient itself is, with real philosophers, if I was at the table, we'll be having to get into to see if it's even the right word for the discussion that we're using. So I'm saying, if we talking about intelligent design. I gotta use the restroom one more time, y'all. That's why we have to be careful when we using shared words and we not giving it to its rightful owners. You see what I'm saying? It's the intellectual property author. Because we could be creating faulty conversation and stuff. Because here's the thing: just because something's sentient doesn't necessarily mean it applies to its intelligent design conversation. Because we can see there's sentient things right now. Someone in the halfway house, they ain't make intelligent decisions, and that's just the lighter way to get into it. But we can see sentient things. There's sentient things that don't make intelligent designs, or there's things that's sentient that can make a design and everybody not going to necessarily say it's intelligent. So for the most part, we're going to be conflating, constantly even trying to bring that to the discussion. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about sentience and intelligent design. These things don't mix. It's almost like flat earth. It don't mix. Earth, flat, two different things. You know what I'm saying? For a pool table to be level in the first place, automatically tell you it's something larger on a percentage scale of something being unleveled. Other than being level, or would be no reason for us to create a level. That's the whole reason we're creating a level in the first place, and things of that nature. We have to level things because obviously the starting point of it is larger on a percentage scale of being unlevel. So if you measure the sea level from one continent to the other, it's not going to be at the same. It's not going to be at the same height. The end. You know what I'm saying? When you make common sense out of stuff, you have to. We don't need a scientific lab or a 2,000-year-old argument to know what God showed us all. God showed us all how to stick a dick in some female real quick and get on Earth. You know what I'm saying? And create the goddamn coldest spaceship in existence. Your body and your mind. Ain't nothing colder than that technology. I'm going to tell you that right now. Ain't nothing colder than that technology. But like I said, obviously, seeing and observing the lighter forms of life, right, shows us that those are the stages of being sentient, or sentience being developed, not the wind being sentient itself, and the process and the very mechanism along with other gases that become sentience through forms of bacteria, parasites, and species. So these are sentience becoming to be. So the level and the stage it's at shows the physical ramifications and a reactions response. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to even think, oh, it's electricity reacted or responded or whatever the case may be or whatever. No, it's just gases. And when gases interact, we cause certain gases with certain minerals that's indifferent than the other one in certain areas. When they react, that might create an electric one. Another one create a toxic one. Another one create. You see what I'm saying? So we'll get lost and be like everything is electricity just because one collection of gases interact with another highly resistant collection of gases and then create that outcome of a colliding diluted form. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll give more importance to that one because that one probably affected your eat, fucking, or sleep inequality more. So if that one caused a higher form of reaction or resistance to your own gas pocket body, that might be one that you by default think is more important. And then if we're getting into things that we're creating in the synthetic world, like studies and observation, you take that starting point and add it there. Yeah, everything is electricity because I could get blown up when these two things come together as fusion and friction, me being a bad chemistress. You know what I'm saying? But you gave more important to one pocket of life than the other pocket of life when really life is a collection of all these things. And you're just showing what you're more interested in. You like Andy's next door neighbor who are the same age. You want to blow up all the toys and stuff like you just want to blow up people. That's all you want to do. Yeah, I'll go down to that. I'm going to fuck all over everybody. Anyway, check this out though, right? So your organs are evolved condensed organ balls. So and then if somebody want to debunk that, that's on you. I don't know how you're gonna debunk that. You know what I'm saying? Your ass shit, fart, piss, all kind of shit and things, and you stink. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, you living to wash your stinkness every day because you're keeping something that stink alive, keeping death alive. Death is the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. Your organ. What's keeping that alive? Your thought and feeling, the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Your thoughts and feelings. So your thoughts and feelings is condensing and becoming your blood flow. When you lack care for something, thoughts and feelings, you lack blood flow, and then it play out as physical representations. Whether you hurt yourself or feel down or feel like you lack something, lack motivation, lack adrenaline, lack blood flow, because it's actually what you lacking. As a spirit, you're not developing it for yourself. So you need uplifting from other people's thoughts. Then you can collect it with your lack of thoughts that you were supposed to develop on your own. It bends in, become blood flow. You get your ass up and go to Planet Fitness like them days you didn't. But for the most part, so your organs are evolved condensed organ balls. So your inner body and immune system is doing the same thing. And illness is misdirected gases in areas with other gases and organs it don't belong with, aka hormonal imbalances, which becomes the outcome. So it's the same thing. Like when your thought and gases condense, it become tissues and stuff like that. And when you got gases that condense and become blood flow, and you don't have a healthy blood flow, they get stuck in areas where it didn't belong, and it didn't go to the area where it do belong. So you got mixed up places and stuff like that. So it's like a organ collision or whatever the case may be. So you end up being sick or ill. And then for the most part, it's like you being eaten from the inside out, like diabetes or whatever the case may be. But what's happening inside you is what we see at a chemist class, mixing two gases together we ain't supposed to. So you got these gases that's supposed to flow in their areas, and when they don't go to their replicable areas, because you're not a healthy running oiled machine, your blood flow is not moving and things of that nature, it gets stuck in pockets that it ain't supposed to. So when it don't pass along, your blood ain't passing along through your veins and stuff like that. So it's not getting to those one areas. So you start having water tension because you start having areas where that start to get hydrated, and you start to get cramps, aka there's a lack of blood flow. So it's starting to become death in areas that's so small on a percentage scale, it don't feel like death, but it is death. You're just going to start seeing it as skin deterioration, or especially around your feet or your legs and things, or your skin get darker. Alcohol do that to you too. When you start burning you up from the inside out, your body is at work in other areas where it can't work in other areas and stuff. So blood flow, which is the life, it don't be in smaller areas for long periods of time, and then for the most part, your skin and tissue die in those areas because it's not getting the natural blood that made it going there anymore. You see, that's what it means. You see what I'm saying? That's all it means. Like and doctors sometimes give a lot of stuff that don't have anything to do with the actual cause of things, which is why you have to develop a lot of other issues. I mean, which is why you end up developing other issues, and you end up on other medications after the first one. And then one medication, just for them to make it come with things that cause problems in other areas. And they say, yeah, this one could cause blindness. This one could cause diabetes in your left eardrum and your left toe knuckle. So it's like, you'd be like, hold on, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got that trick you out because they could say some shit like, well, we told you it was in it. We didn't really have to tell you behind closed doors we didn't have to put that in it for that to do it. We didn't have to go that far. We just told you this would happen to you. If you took it, you took it. We ain't tell you we didn't have to put it in there anyway, though. You know what I'm saying? We ain't have to tell you that part of it. You know what I'm saying? I love America. I love all y'all. No, I don't. I love y'all. But let's check it out, right? So, gases. Now we gonna get into some healthier starting points too. Like if we want to get into, because we could say things like, well, where the gases come from and stuff like that. And then now we get into areas where another person can find areas to debunk another person, even if we ain't even getting to the right area of the discussion. And a debunking conversation would take us away from anything real. Gases help find the common ancestor of a species. Everything. Soak that in for a second. I even want people who even think that's pseudo or whatever the case may be. I want you to go through all your thought forms to be able to be like, yeah, that is pseudo. What? We would have been found the common ancestor and stuff like that and stuff. Right. And you're right. If y'all had the better starting point. You feel me? Think about that for a second. I'm about to take us down to a little line of reasoning and train of thought. without being in a science lab, but it's cold and it motivates you. I'm an Aries, so I just motivated you. If you is in science, that you want to get up and be there before everybody. Be like, damn, my day off now. I want to go my day off. I want to actually kind of get back to that little computer or that little thing that got something to do with this topic. But check it out. Gas help find the common ancestors of a species. Now, why I say that? Why I say that? I want you to think it's pseudo, right? Because I like to bring things in reality. Because I'm going to point to something we do every day. You ain't even got to do it every day. You could think about it yourself. You probably got a family member. You get on YouTube. You know construction workers have to re-innovate. So they go into old buildings and things of that nature. Based upon this analogy I'm getting ready to break down, right? Everything, a.k.a. organic gases, which are organs, has a specific smell. What else is you smelling as gases? You know, we putting colognes together, perfumes and stuff. You know how gas smell. You know how dead body smell. If you watch, and what the kids was saying, if you watch Boys in the Hood, I think I smelled that. And you know what little homeboy was saying, a little Jew homeboy who was intelligent. I see dead people and all that stuff. So peep game, right? Now, for example, if you smell mold in an abandoned building. Now remember, keep this in your mind. We have to start putting things, colonize it in our mind. Put it in its pocket, its family pocket. If something more and is less dense, how it play out, put it in that pocket. The things we're calling intelligent, if it don't have anything to do with when we start to have discussions about being sentient and intelligent design, you know what I'm saying? It don't belong in that pocket. It's in a different pocket for us to have a better starting point where that's at. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in your mind. For example, if you smell mold in an abandoned building, then by common sense, you know the bacteria family that died and became the fungus, aka that was in that building. So for the most part, any different form of bacteria that smell like a mold, we know common sense wise, the fungus ancestor. You walk in an abandoned building, a abandoned house or whatever, and it got that smell. It might not be the same mold, but it got that smell. So you know that there's a common ancestor if you want to use the term ancestor and use it for a better reference in this type of discussion. You know what I'm saying? Because we start thinking about monkeys and Lucy's, and ancestor, that's not a good starting point. Something that is ending stage or its expiration date is not a good starting point if we're having discussions of where something derived from in its early stages or its beginning stages. We have to put things in its rightful pocket, common sense wise, before we waste tax dollars. And we're trying to find the beginning of something, we have to find a representative of it in its early stage. If we want to find what happens to something in its deteriorating stage, at its ending stage, we have to find representations in the world that's doing something in its deterioration. You know what I'm saying? So we want to think about it fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional mental time wise. Something in its early stages would be spring and summer. Something in its depth stages would be fall and winter. If we want to look at it physically, right? If we want to look at a common ancestor, we have to look at what the smell and that smell derives from that play out in the same mathematic organ-wise, right? And we will have to see a representation of that now. And if we want to see how something, what happens to it and where it goes, if we want to know this tree that got life to it, what happens to it once it reaches a deterioration stage, let's see what happens to a tree at wintertime, or let's see a tree that's already a stump. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, now we don't have to get lost. But for the most part, here's the thing. Smell is something how we can track, because a smell comes off of a collection of something, and a collection of something is an organ at the moment. So smell is in the pocket family of something less dense. If the organ is already heavy, but it got a smell, it comes from the less dense. Smell is more in the pocket family of less dense. So it has to be a collection of masses, smell and stuff like that to become an organ. So to find the origin or the ancestor of a human organ wouldn't be finding something already in its expiration date. Something already died, or a monkey bone named Lucy or whatever. It'd be seeing representations of another example of the very same thing that we just seen in a different stage, like a baby being born or something like that, right? And since the baby already physical, what is the lighter stage of a baby? The baby smell. And we all know baby birth has a different smell than your ass already being a little badass kid running around the house, and hopefully there's a lock on the goddamn appliance and dishwashing liquid cabinet. You know what I'm saying? But look, check it out. Like I said, right? So we need to understand nuance and have these life experiences before we start getting into philosophy, because we know that's what science is piggybacking off of anyway. Our hypothesis about things. Let's have better hypothesis first, and the science will be cold. Now, so any different form of bacteria, right, that has that a certain smell like mold, we know that it's a common ancestor, a common fungus ancestor family it's attached to. Then we could go from there, which one was first, based off the creation, mutation, evolution pattern. Because you'll get lost into dichotomies. You want to argue evolution, then go against creation. You want to argue for creation and go against evolution, and then forget for both of these things to be, there's an equilibrium. There's a mutation that have to happen. Or you still going to be thinking of the first law of thermodynamics is right. Energy can't be created or destroyed. Then how is things being added then if energy can't be created? There has to be a form of creation. And then after that creation, it had to mutate based upon more creations being added to it for us to have velocity, volume, and mass in different sizes. You see what I'm saying? And then therefore, that very process is what we're pointing to say at the end stage of it, that's what evolution is. So if we understand that little mechanism process and don't leave one or the other out, we won't be at the end stage of something trying to find the beginning stages of something. So as I made the example, being a master orator, comparing that, if you want to find the end stages of something, find something in its expiration date, find the early stages of something, find something in its birth state. You do that the same with this concept of creation, mutation, evolution, and counterpartmentalize it. Evolution will be something at its ending stage in this type of thought frame of it, from a philosophical starting point or whatever. Because once we're looking at things and then trying to see where did evolution come from, you're comparing and contrasting it to things that's already have evolved, like bones that's already died, like Lucy and things of that nature, where we understand for Lucy to even be there, some fucking had to happen for that to be born. So if Lucy got a different smell than a human smell, we need to be going to search for certain smells that have sex and was born, and then you could be like, oh, okay, that was the area where maybe cats derived. You know what I'm saying? Because a cat have a different smell, a feline have a different birth smell than a canine birth smell. See what I'm saying? Monkeys don't smell like humans. So y'all don't come from the same gases that collided and resisted and condensed with that mathematical form of organ. So even having a starting point of saying monkeys come from a common ancestor, y'all don't come from the same fart. Monkeys do not come from the same fart a human come from. You know that? That's a fart cloud thought. Now, you can get lost in physical first, being a monkey and a human already here. Y'all still stink different. Y'all shit smell different. Y'all got the same ability, shit. It don't come from the same ancestor, though. So I'm saying, y'all shit don't come from the same. A bird shit don't come from. A bird shit is white. Y'all ever got shitted on by a bird? I always got shitted on by. I done got shitted on by thousands of birds minding my business and shit like that. It'd be all warm and see-through until you realize, wait, I got shitted on later on in the day. Your shirt stuck together and shit like that and things. It's all hard. You're like, what does that say? All saying, bird nutted on your ass. You know what I'm saying? I've been having good luck ever since. Intelligent dogs and shit like flying around. I'm starting to think it was my ancestors and shit. You know what I'm saying? Guaranteed. I never doubted it. You know what I'm saying? But look, check it out, right? Here's the thing. So when we think about it in that aspect, right? Any different form of bacteria that has a certain smell or whatever the case may be, we're able to kind of find the common ancestor of that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you go into a common ancestor is a word that you probably already exaggerating if you went to college, military, or just some rinky-dink ass scholar, and then you not knowing how to separate from what your studies is, and we know an ancestor just means something that was before something, and common just means it was part of the same portion of something. So, you know, if something smelled like mold in an abandoned building, and then you go somewhere else that's dusty and it has a different smell, you need two different type of cleaning products. All right. So for the most part, you know, when one cleaning product can get rid of the smell of Pine Sol, might can get rid of the smell of one motherfucker ancestor pocket in that abandoned building y'all re-innovating, and Clorox may have to get rid of the other one, or however the case may be, or some goddamn bleach. Now, or some goddamn ammonia in this motherfucker shit. You know what I'm saying? Windex for another one. And this goddamn Understand what I'm saying? So when we get into these energies, right? Um, then we can go from there to kind of compartmentalize what was first and what, you know what I'm saying? Would evolve from that creation, mutation, evolution. And if you're a human, you already know that you was here a little longer than a monkey. So you can't say a human and a monkey had a common ancestor if humans have more evolved intelligence than a monkey. So it's the one that has more intelligence was here longer, not the one that lacked intelligence that's living backwards or getting too lost in science. So you're trying to look at the expiration dates of something and then piggyback it off evolution or whatever the case. But we have to look at every pockets in life, even common sense, living out experiences with nuance, right? The person who's older, mind is more evolved or whatever, just amongst the human. And they could teach the teenager or the child or the young adult more about life or actual experience that they had the same type of job or similar job or whatever the case may be. So the only thing we can kind of compare and contrast that wisdom to is that person was there longer at that job or that person was here longer. Okay, that here longer is just on a smaller percentage scale in an area that we know it makes sense, but or it's larger in the family pocket of if we want to have discussions about evolution. So anytime we have a person saying something that's less comprehended up in the mind may have a common ancestor from something that's more comprehended. It took that thing that's more comprehended that's here longer to come up with that. Why a monkey couldn't come up with you humans come from us. You see what I'm saying? So obviously, whatever's coming up with that was here longer in a more broader macro aspect, even breaking it down to micro example I just made from the more adult or the elder or the grandma giving more advice to the younger person. And the only example we got to point to is the pocket family of who was here longer or whatever the case may be. So the human was here longer than the monkey, not the human and the monkey having a common ancestor. Y'all come from two different farts. You know what I'm saying? So fossils. Fossils represent the state of de-evolved and imploded condensed forms of gas, like bone marrow and becoming bone and its expiration date, right? At its ended stages, aka no more development of bone marrow. That's so there's no such thing as backtracing or backtracking from something at its ending stages. So you cannot reverse or what they call it, do this reverse radiometric dating, right? So that radiometric dating, that's a faulty science. It's debunked. Is it if we giving our tax dollars to radiometric dating, this is why we have studies on the universe within the context of it being a noun, like the universe is taking actions, not a whole bunch of things within the adjective universe to describe everything within it that's taking actions, trees growing and stuff like that, wind blowing, gases colliding. So that all that together makes the universe, not the universe itself producing these things. So we have to understand what we're saying, if we're going to be intelligent and not claim what it means to be intelligent because you gave your life to get a PhD or a master's. See what I'm saying? Because I ain't got none of those things yet. You can't say what I'm saying is not intelligent, even if you already know what I'm actually talking about, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. You know what I'm saying? The only thing they'll be saying is it's intelligent that you didn't have to go to college to understand that. But that's not a form of intelligence. You don't have to go to college to understand these things. Your form of intelligence is you put yourself in a position to be able to make money off these studies. Now, if we want to say that's intelligent, cool, right there. But as far as this us understanding life, let's go ahead and separate from these egos and these badges. And I'm a PhD. You see what I'm saying? Real shit. And we shall all be able to understand when a person, whether they got one or don't, still ain't got no representation to be speaking, because that's larger on a percentage scale. Pretty sure there's a lot of professors that can look at other professors and teachers and be like, you ain't got no business being in the position that you in. And by the grace of God, we know you just here for a job and the money. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be. And we can see that there's a lot of individuals who's not in this position that you still ain't got no business speaking. And damn, why ain't you in these positions that you can speak? What's going on? So I'm saying, and then we have to have other unhealthy conversations. You letting your life go by because you ain't participating or assimilating with your knowledge. And then that might not even be a conversation we need to be happening. We just need family that support each other, that everybody can have that type of position for themselves. And then there could be a philosopher amongst all ethnicities. See what I'm saying? But for the most part, here's the thing, and that's just from a moral state, because we fighting virtues and principles right now. So that's what that was about. But like I said, there's no such thing as backtracing from something at its ending stages, right? To find a beginning stage of something, you have to find the newer version of the same thing in its early or beginning stages. For example, to know how a tree grow, look at a seed planted that grow trees. Know what I'm saying? To know how a human is born, go have sex or study the birth type of concept or whatever the case may be. So therefore it's something that happens every day. If something happens every day, God got something to do with it. Or it's the natural process that people may delude, and then whatever people want to call things of that nature, if you're an atheist listening to this or whatever the case, right? If it's something that only happens once in a blue moon, it's synthetic, non-natural, and a species made it out of convenience. So if it's something that happens every day, birth, life, death, eat, fucking, and sleeping, God got something to do with it. If it happens once in a blue moon, all the way to certain narratives and certain pockets, astrological alignments with certain big events happening, things of that nature, 9 times out of 10, it's synthetic and non-natural, and a species made it out of convenience. So yeah, all ants make ant farms, but then you might have an ant farm creating a matrix, a system, a way of life that make all the other ant farms say, no, all y'all ant farms come through me, or whatever the case may be. The natural thing about the situation is ants gonna create ant farms and stuff like that. The synthetic thing about it is the way they doing it and how the other ones took authority and said, no, all y'all gonna make this ant farm for me. That's the synthetic part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a species creating something out of another convenience, aka managers and bosses not putting in as much work as the employees, but making more money. But for the most part, like I said, right now, and then I know I just use that as an example. We know managers put in a lot of work as far as the paperwork and keeping things together and having to be there more hours than employees, and having to deal with employees more than the employees themselves, because they have days on and days off and shit like that the manager ain't always privy to. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, right? Let's say we are trying to find the lightest stages, aka gases, that the humans came out of, right? Because you want to say things come from monkeys. No, the right starting point is to say what smell. You know what I'm saying? Because we know dandelions has certain smells different than roses, right? So when you somewhere and you know these smells, you know how to differentiate the ancestor pocket that's in that woods at the moment. You know how to separate, oh, it's a bunch of ancestors here of dandelions. It's a bunch of ancestors here of daffodils. It's a bunch of, you know what I'm saying? So let's say we're trying to find the lighter stages, gases, and this goes for all things, all forms. Everything is a form of organism. So the lighter stages of it is the gas. So if you want to see where that come from, you're going to be in search of the birth or the early stages of it. Not, oh, where's more dandelions at? Oh, where's more of those type of humans at? See what I'm saying? Yo, this is how we think backwards. Now, so let's say that we are trying to find the lighter stages, aka gases, the human became sentient from. We need to be looking for gases or locations on Earth that smell like baby birth. Now, here's the thing. With the female has to make the gases first, aka be pregnant first. Not do studies on the female organs where the reproduction happens, right? Without the gases there being produced yet. It's just the tool. The tool ain't working. It's just the video game console. We ain't pushed start yet and start playing Sonic the Hedgehog. You see what I'm saying? So we can't know the gases Sonic the Hedgehog unless we turn the video game on, unless she's cooking in the oven. You see what I'm saying? And that's from the female perspective. Now for the man, right, we could do the same thing for the man, but esoterically speaking, right, whatever the spirit or the space a man is in, to start observing or have observations that create the mind state of pleasure arousement, right, before you even get hard. The mind, you in a certain space, different than I want to learn, or different than I want to work space. I'm in a pleasurable space. So that's if you don't believe in the spirit, call it your space, atheist. You know what you want in and out of your space, whether there's an object there or not, right? And the collection of your thoughts is what you're dealing with to call it I'm frustrated or whatever. Right? And here's the thing. When you start observing, let's call it this area. Other people like to call it root chakra or whatever. But let's just call it you're observing. You put yourself in this space where you start to observe or emanate thoughts of feelings of pleasure. You get inside that first body and start having more imaginations in that beach. How this go? How this go? How this go? Now that's more thoughts and feelings inside of that body, and it condense and become from the inside out and become blood flow. That blood flow go to that area that the spirit be in to create the mind, to create that chakra and that gas pocket. And then for the most part, now you're making it you're putting it more to work. You turned it on, and then therefore you're aroused. Whatever the case may be. So spiritually, or the space that you went to, that was gases. You know what I'm saying? That you create a gas. The thoughts is gases or whatever. So that's how you go there spiritually. Now, if you want to know where a collection of humans origins at, you go to those areas. You find those areas if you're a genealogist or whatever the case may be, and try to find that smell, right? It could be in the land, the trees or whatever, because it's always going to be harvesting there. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a head start. So colonists don't always confuse everybody because it works in other areas that don't work for everybody else. It only benefit them, making everybody believe that everybody come from the north. So, and y'all could go into details of how it benefit them in areas that don't even have anything to do where people come from and stuff like that. All the way to making people believe where people are at first. But I give everybody a head start. Every continent, the atmosphere and the environment is what's making the species and the phenotypes of the humans. That's on every continent. So that's that, right? But then it goes deeper. Every ethnicity come from the root chakra, esoterically speaking. Before y'all want to say, oh, this is pseudo, I'm gonna make it make sense. The southern part of the continent. So in America, North America, Native Americans, we are derived out of our hot pocket, our hot spot, South America, and Peru and everything of that nature. And then that's thousands of years before everything. Europeans have a southern part. Africans have a southern part. Arabs have every continent, Asia, every continent have a southern, and then you spread out central and north, and then east west, or whatever the case, and then y'all have y'all own development how y'all start doing that, or whatever the case may be. So every hot pocket of a continent has the smell of the human birth, and the gases in the atmosphere is what's condensing to become any species. This is what makes a panda different than a koala, but they're both bears, but on different geographical locations. Or humans the same way. It's just humans get confused in all pockets of life. You know what I'm saying? Which humans know that though. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I say well that's just for jokes and stuff, not really. But you know how I be saying Africa and Europe is Aboriginal and America's Central, South, and America's, because Caribbeans is technically America. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get lost in nationality terms and stuff, and then who just got colonized and what area got controlled the worst. So you separate it based upon the colonists who's getting paid off of it and the dead colonists, but it has nothing to do with that. Geographically speaking, North America is South, Central, and North America as a continent. That's one continent itself. Then you got the other part of the West, but that's Europe and Spain and all that, and Germany and all that and stuff. And then you have Africa and all that, and then you have Asia and all that. So you just have the four colors of the world and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? The Muskaki, Skipakia, Dibeko, Wakanakia. You know what I'm saying? Wakanakia be the white world, Skipakia, blue-green world, Muskaki, red world, Dibeko, black world, and things of that nature. And then for the most part, you would say, if you want to do it like this, because this is how the Europeans was coming over here, and you know, we was sharing culture. So based on our understanding, they got a little bit of our understanding too. So for the most part, this is how you get the red and white states too, and stuff like that, and blue states and whatever the case. But for the most part, Wakanakia, right, the white world come from the east, right? Then you got the Skipakia, right? Then that'd be the north, or the blue world, green world coming over here and things of that nature. Or you know when blue and green come together, it make yellow, right? So you could say north, or the most extended on the banana peel, so that'd be Asia. So you got east, then you got Asia. You know what I'm saying? So that'd be Wakanakia. Then you have white world. Then you have yellow world out of blue and green. Skipakia. Then that's Asia. Then you have the red world coming to the west over here up under Venus, under Uriel, Ariel Honan, and things of that nature, right? The red man and things of that nature. Red woman, just hypothetically speaking, you see what I'm saying? Muskaki, and then you have the Beko, Africa. You know what I'm saying? The darker races, the Arabs, the African tribes, and stuff like that. If you want to put it in that kind of context too, you see what I'm saying? And for all my natives, already know what I'm talking about, without having to break down the colors to y'all, or whatever the case. But this is what you would, if you see a medicine wheel, and you see red, black, yellow, and white. That's what it means. And sometimes they interchange the colors or whatever the case may be. White, it probably be something else. It might be green sometimes, or whatever the case may be. So it might be green, blue, or black, red. You know what I'm saying? But these are things in the mind, right? So if you want to look at it like birth, life, deterioration, death, as a thought form, like you're giving birth to an idea, you're giving it life, then you know it's that something that needs to be interchanged and not used to express as an ego. Then let it put the death and put it to rest, so it can be reborn or something like that, so it don't look like you're saying the same joke and want the same results, or doing the same thing and get the same results, like insanity or whatever the case may be. You can look at it like that. When a person is in anything that they're doing, but they're acting out one of them qualities. If a person is acting out a Wakanakian stage, they may be becoming a little bit more naive, or lack of knowledge of what they're participating with, positive or negative, whether they get manipulated or they need someone to teach them to do something at their first day at the job or school. If a person in a situation of skipakia, right? This would be a person giving life to something. So as after the early stage, they have a little bit of nuance, but it's still in its youthful stage. So you have to allow the mistakes to be happen, but there's also new birth of something that may not appear to be a mistake. There's life given to something, life beat, right? Then you have deterioration stage, or the fallen stage, or the fallen people. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, but we should help y'all not uphold something when you need to fall about something, so you don't see it as a form of what you attach to in the physical world. You see it as a process of life, and put it in stages of life that's positive too, so these things can continue to be going, and you don't be clinging on to something and scare any sign of it leaving, right? So then you have the Miskaki, the red world, or over here where the sky's always purple over this motherfucker, because it just left from the blue-green and it's getting to the collection of colors, but you see that little red shift, radiation, something transitioning, something moving away from the areas where it moved a little bit, just not enough for you to be aware of it. God damn it, we on here over here in New WURLDIAH, America. So when a person is expressing something, but you know what I'm saying, it might be deteriorated and they might not be dealing with it the right way. Maybe vulnerability, might be a business that might not be going as well as it was before, or maybe something that they all upholding, but they get ready to use it as ego, and before they're using it as ego, they don't know how they're going to look yet, or whatever the case may be. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, that's Miskaki area or something like that. And a lot of times, if you're not aware of that, and you're trying to uphold something that's in its deteriorating stage and don't know how to uphold it, you may get aggressive to try to uphold it. And if it go too far, all you might see is red to get it done. And then it go into the aspect of DeBeco, Black World, and all these collections come together and stuff. When a person is already stable, secure, foundation, like some has froze and condensed without adding negativity to it, you see a person at its winter stage time in a positive attribute, consistency. When you see a person all over the place, didn't know how to harvest like previously, the Miskaki world, the red, knowing something deteriorate and know how to not take everything, because you're going to need something for later, and don't overexpose or overexpress or overgive something, or do things in moderation the right way, then boom, things become unstable and you become cold with no shelter, or whatever the case may be. Then that's a debacle. Then for the most part, you're in darkness, rather emotional darkness, all these collection of colors, not separate, they all together, and you in your own darkness, and it's heavy. The implosion of things that's collecting as gases, and it's wearing and tearing on you mentally and even physically, based upon situations you start to manifest in your life that you need assistance with, because you made small problems bigger for you to handle for yourself, and to feel like the world is on your shoulders, mentally and physically. Now you're in darkness in some way, type of form. And here's the thing, you might try to cover it up and then quote unquote throw shade on other individuals, and this is where projection comes into play. But for the most part, that's when a person's in DeBeco. So when you take it from an esoteric perspective, when it comes into the Wakanakia, Skipakia, Miskaki, and the DeBeco, white world, blue-green world, or yellow world, red world, black world, separating it from race, you understand it from your own geographical location. And then once you understand that, you know how to respect everybody outside of you, regardless of these things at play or not, because it's a natural nature and a quality. So when we're looking at the essence and the sentience of things, we know that these things is coming from a lighter stage than the heavier stage and the condensed stage. So even in these philosophical conversations, we have to understand this also. The mind is something that's sentient. The mind is developed around. Sentience is developed from the mind, because you're going to be trying to find a mind sentience and intelligence that it may have, and you're always going to be in search for more. But if you understand in the first place that the mind is developed from sentience, then all we need to do is understand the essence of sentientness. And then now we understand what it means to have sentientship, and now we don't got to put so much pressure on that sentient thing to have this form of intelligence that may not have anything to do with a form of design. And I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities for Neolin. Raptor Haël'Ho Yahlahuè, Massasoit. And shout out to the most powerful Ohio people in the world. All the natives the most powerful, all the white man the most powerful. Y'all notice the mother of the most intelligent people on this land. Everybody, the colonists that was born here, hard as ever. Yeah, I think David Crockett was born here. I say that you better believe it. Don't let me start getting into goddamn the Wanda, she little turtle, you know what I'm saying? Tecumseh. Don't let me start. I start running down names all day. Rest in peace, Neolin. I love all y'all from the bottom of my real shit.